Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Rise Factor. I am your host, Sarah, and today I have Tarym Wright joining me from the Lifestyle Group. Welcome.
Thanks, Sarah. I'm so glad to be here.
I am so glad that you agreed to come on. We connected. I've been following you. I love what you're all about and what you represent. Oh my gosh, like 14 years in the industry, you told me off air, and you've been a BDM for 10 of those years, which is
Yeah.
just incredible. You're, doing the work-life integration, but I would love to know more about you. And for the listeners that do not know you, who's Tarim?
Yeah. So I have been, as you mentioned, in the industry 14 years and a BDM for 10 of those. So what that means is that I have gone through a few legislation updates in New South Wales, but it also means that I've actually changed a lot as a person over those different life stages that I've gone through. So I'm now a mother of two. I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, so my life is never boring. And it means that as a BDM, I have had to work smarter rather than harder because instead of doing 6 days a week like I was back in Sydney before kids, I
Yeah.
just I just can't keep up. So I do a 32-hour work week. So a lot of my processes, systems, and just the way that I approach my time is a lot different to, the hustle and grind of what we've been taught in real estate. So that's very much a bit about how I've adapted my workplace to my life stages.
Mm.
But I've also been a huge believer in authenticity. So I have been in the industry since I was 18 years old and I looked 12. So I've actually been in the Elite Agent magazine, and I've done an article on age is just a number.
Mm.
And it really is just a number. You can be young and have more experience than somebody who is a bit older, or you can just do things and approach things in a different way that can really resonate with a landlord client. So I've been a big, big believer in making sure that no matter what you do or who's trained you or who your mentors are in the industry, take everything that you learn, but also make sure that you do it in an authentic way that really represents who you are as a person.
I love that. Have you always had that mindset, or is that something that you developed over the time from being in the BDM role?
Yeah, it did take a little while to develop, and I think that came with age and experience. So my
Mm.
first year in BDM, I found that I was trying to emulate exactly what my predecessor did. Now, my predecessor was a decade older than me. And
Mm.
so everything that I said that was the same as what she said, it actually sounded arrogant coming from me, not professional. And I think it was just because when it comes from somebody younger, sometimes people can misconstrue the actual tone behind it. It can sound a little bit different, and it just doesn't have the same impact as somebody that's a bit older. So it can be said the same way by two different people and be taken two different ways. So that was something that I learned pretty early on and had to adapt to go like, who am I? And really get down to the granular of like, who is Taryn Wright? Who am I? Well, back then I was Taryn Coughlin Hardy, so I had to figure that out too. So
Yeah.
it was who am I outside of work? Who am I inside of work? What do I have to do to my voice? What do I have to do with the way I dress to
Mm.
really make myself feel a bit more professional, a little bit older, so that I can come into these landlord clients and not only be taken seriously, but also take them on a journey throughout their property and their future buying and their investment portfolio. So I actually, at the age of 21, was the number one nationally recognized BDM in Harcourts, Australia, at that time. So that was a pretty momentous achievement for me,
Yeah.
being quite young. But it just goes to show that you can be any age and still be able to be top of your field at that point in time.
Absolutely. And congratulations. And I really love this topic. I was a bit older when I started as a BDM, but I still faced the same, I suppose, initial challenges where I was also trained by someone else who had been a BDM for quite some time and found that I was mimicking her style and what she had been told. And it wasn't really until I started questioning, is this how I want to be perceived? Is this how I want to assist landlords? that I really broke free from, I guess we could say, the traditional or, known way of doing sales and started excelling not just in my results as a BDM, but as a human, right? Because like you said, it's
Absolutely.
who's the person. It's not the title, it's, who are we? And then I was able to resonate with clients a lot better. And this is me saying from an older,
Yeah,
perspective. So for the younger BDMs listening right now, or perhaps that have just joined, I think, Tarun made a really good point is just spend some time in understanding who you are, what you love. And I think as well, there's a part of this is understand your clients because
absolutely.
essentially we need to talk and relate and use our tonality and body language, the way we present ourselves that are going to resonate with our ideal clients. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I think as well, as women, we can also style ourselves so many different ways.
Mm,
So it's a little bit different to men. You have men who come in and they wear a suit and they have cropped hair. It's pretty simple. But for us as women, you can wear, a high neck top, a low cut top, a long sleeve top, a skirt, pants. You can wear a
mm,
dress. There's so many different ways that you can style yourself to look and feel a little bit more professional in your power as a woman,
mm,
and not feel uncomfortable. So I think getting to know what you feel like you in actually
mm,
helps you be more you.
for
So
sure.
I would definitely, putting on heels. Like I live in an area where people barely wear shoes. I'm in coastal Port Macquarie, guys. So just letting you know, a bit of context helps there.
Yeah.
So for me, our uniform is actually we can wear white sneakers. I
Mm,
don't wear white sneakers. It would make me a bit more relatable, but I don't feel in my power in white sneakers. I'm still
mm,
rocking the heels.
yeah.
My chiropractor hates me, but that's a whole other issue. So,
Oh yeah, I think I actually spoke about this on the previous episode about I had a uniform and I hated the fact that I had a uniform. Like I don't think it made me look any more professional at all.
yeah,
I didn't feel confident in my power, like what the words that you used, and so I think this is another thing, like, directors or that are listening, maybe like, is a uniform the best thing for your team members? And have you asked them if they actually feel comfortable and confident with wearing that uniform that is
absolutely.
suggested? I'm not seeing the uniform as often now, but I know that
Yeah,
there are still a lot that have that, I guess, maybe an older school mentality because I feel like the more you feel good and look good, the more that's going to betray to that person that you're speaking to, and that real confidence shines through.
absolutely.
I don't think that you lack in confidence anyway. I mean, I always love seeing what you're up to. And how have you found the integration? I mean, earlier you said that, you work 32 hours a week, and some BDMs that are listening are probably going to be like, how the fuck do you do that? Because, you know, they're like, I don't even have enough time in the day. So, what's helped you being able to work 32 hours a week and then obviously, give time to your children?
Yeah. So I love explaining this because I've sat in a high performers workshop and heard people say I do 60-hour weeks, I'm doing 50-hour weeks. And it's like, if
Mm,
I was doing that, like my poor children would probably be, out on the curb saying, "Please, sir, can I have some more?" Because I just wouldn't be able to have the time for that. So, for me, getting rid of my administration. What are my dollar productive activities, and what can I give away? So, having an offshore remote professional was absolutely pivotal in
mm,
taking over those processes so that I don't have to do them. I also do have an on-site team member who works 3 days a week, and she's a mum as well. And she is my right-hand woman. So she does my photo appointments, books my photos, checks my ads,
mhm,
and she does all those little bits and pieces. She checks in with the property managers on where things are at, organizes the compliance aspects. So all those little things that realistically, need to be done, but also can't be done by the person that's out there trying to secure new business because you do get bogged down in it.
mm,
And so it is something where if your office has resources, a leasing consultant could be the perfect fit for that role, to assist the BDM in those little tasks. Our PMs do the open homes for our office. So my role is price reductions if the PMs find that they're having challenges leasing it. and really getting that property to the market. And
Mm.
that's it. So I think it all depends. People are working more hours, but they're also doing more. So I really want to
Yeah.
say that I can appreciate that as well. So understanding the structure behind what I do is really key in knowing how I end up with those 32 hours. So in the month of December, which was, as we all know, 3 weeks basically, I signed 22 managements. And so it's pretty incredible. We are very fortunate to have an office that is driven by growth.
Mm.
And my biggest driver is definitely my community engagement. So I do a lot within my community and I get seen a lot by my community because I'm a small town.
Mm.
When I first got here, I was from Sydney 4 years ago. And I got here and people would say, "Oh no, I'm going with my cousin's brother's friend from down the road. He recommended me to him." So I was like, how do I be that person?
Mm.
So I implemented quite a lot of different ideas. One that I found was key was our Live Love Local vouchers. I went around to local businesses and I said, guys, I want you to be a part of this. I want like back then we were elders, but we want lifestyle exclusive tenants that are moving into the area like I did. Who's the best hairdresser? I want that
Mm.
hairdresser to provide a little, 5% off voucher to the clients to incentivize them to go out and use that hairdresser. So that actually really helped cement me within the community, especially the business part of the community, which then led me to the Hastings Business Women's Network. And gosh, that was just a game changer for me because women chat, right?
Mm.
So going into the women's networking, all the women who are in business, that was really, really what made a huge difference for me. And I've been doing that for about 3 years and volunteering on the committee for that. And so I get a lot of people just call for rental inquiries, people that refer me, people that say, look, I've just got a problem with my property manager and I just wanted to talk it out. So you just become that trusted source. And I
Mm.
found that is something that I would definitely encourage all BDMs to do if they're wanting to be more of an attraction-based agent. Get out in your community and have those people referring you and spruiking how amazing you are for all your landlord clients.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have a couple of questions because I feel like viewers are going to be asking this.
Yep.
With the group that you're in,
Yep.
does your director pay for that or is it something that you pay for?
So it's only $99 a year
Hmm.
for membership. So it is definitely something that I just am more than happy to cover. But my boss is like, no, we're just doing it as a team, and we have a few people in it. But
Yeah.
then I, as the committee member, I'm investing my time. So it's only $99. It's a bit different to BNI. I think that's usually around the 12 to $1,500. And that I would encourage business owners to invest in because you're building that asset of the portfolio.
Mm.
So I definitely would invest in it. And then if your BDM leaves, your office always has a spot.
Yeah, for sure. And is that considered like a self-generated listing? These leads and listings that you're getting from like community involvement and in that group?
Yes.
Awesome. Beautiful. Okay. I love this topic, Trim, because the reason why I love this topic so much is because a lot of the time when I'm talking to BDMs or business owners, they are reactive and not proactive, meaning that typically they're only getting leads from call-ins, maybe their website, their sales agents, or their property managers,
Yeah.
right? Whereas you're actively going out there, you're actively engaging in the people that make up your marketplace to connect with them, have conversations with them, look at ways that you can collaborate with them. You're doing like volunteer work, you're meeting other women that work in your area that are probably mums, so you have that straight away that relatability there because you're also
Absolutely.
a mum, and that I think helps with building that trust. But the key word that you said earlier was you become the trusted source,
Yeah.
right? And I think now people always think visibility is their social media, and it's far
Yeah.
from the truth. That is
Absolutely.
one part of our ecosystem that we can do. But we forget about the in person interactions and the people that actually make up those businesses who also want clients and also want
Absolutely.
visibility. So I would love to know what are some stories? I'd love to hear some stories on like whether it was a volunteering that you did or any community involvement that you did, or working with this particular group that resulted in you working with like your dream client.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to step back out of my Port Macquarie portfolio for a little bit because I did work in Castle Hill for 5 years back. Yeah, so for 5 years prior to children and then after children. So I actually joined after becoming a mum. I joined Hills District Mums, which was the Facebook page of all Facebook pages for the area, and it was like you had to be a mum to join it. It was very strict.
Hmm.
But in those groups, people ask, who would you recommend?
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting. I learned pretty early on that if I could get my current landlords who were mums to recommend me, then it actually catapulted the amount of referrals. And what I mean by that is sometimes people wouldn't even post. They'd say, I searched the Port Macquarie, the Hills District Mums page, and you were the most recommended.
Mm.
I would have, after I moved to Port Macquarie, I got a call 18 months after I moved saying, you were the top person on Hills District Mums to call in regards to property management. Can you manage my property? Unfortunately, I don't live in the area, but I can absolutely put you in touch with an amazing property manager that I recommend. So if you've got a community network like that, it doesn't have to be mums in particular. It could be a dad's page. It could be just a notice board. We've got Port Macquarie notice board here, and I'm constantly trying to also emulate the same thing here. So
Mm.
it's really, really important that your community knows you not only in your community, but also that online presence is also just as important because that's where people are more likely to ask for that advice and usually anonymously.
Yeah.
And so it's really important to do that as well. So that's one really great success story. I think I worked out it was basically a third of my business came from those referrals back in the Hills District.
So good.
Um, as of right now, I wouldn't say my dream client has come from my work at the moment. But what I would say is that I have been able to use it as a platform of we have a local Women Against Domestic Violence. It's called Liberty within the community. And so we've actually been able to utilize that platform. And as a business, we've been able to provide training to the workers within Liberty of how to help their clients get a rental property because they might be, people that have left the family home where their partner was the homeowner or the leaseholder. They may not have access to finance resources and they may not have never filled out an application before. So we actually used it to do a bit of a community piece with that particular how do you say it, that particular business, and make it something into how can we do more? How can
Yeah.
we actually arm our community so that we can get more women safely into rental properties? And obviously for some people it isn't going to happen. But for some people, it's just about matching the right tenant with the right owner. And I was really fortunate one day to have this woman who had experienced, a very unfortunate circumstance. And her caseworker called me and said, look, Taryn, I've got somebody and I would bat for her left and right. Can you talk to her? She came into our office and I said, I've got an off-market property. I'm going to call my client and I'd love for you to meet them. So I met her at the property with the client, and on paper, it didn't look amazing, but just this feeling and the owner meeting her, that's probably one of my favorite stories, to be quite honest. And it doesn't have anything to do with the dream client. I think it's about the dream scenario and the dream, and yeah, just having somebody else live their dream, and she's still happily in the property 3 years later, pays her rent on time, and her
Yeah.
cleaning business doesn't take on any more cleaning because she's just too full. So
Too cool.
it's
That
great.
those stories that you were just talking about, like I feel like we need to share more of them. I think
Yeah.
like, as a trainer, I'm disappointed that I don't see more BDMs talking about these stories because when we're looking at being that trusted source and that attraction agent, people don't want to see about just the houses that you've put
Yeah.
up. They want to see, well, okay, who was your client? What did they like? Where did they come from?
Yeah.
How did you help them get that result? And who's the renter that you got for that particular property? Like, where did they come from? What did they like? And And also, people aren't as shy getting on camera anymore. So there's a huge opportunity to even get
Absolutely.
your landlords and renters on video and get them to share the story with you.
Oh,
I
for
think there's
sure.
a huge opportunity here. But I mean, you've done such a great job of, picking up from what you knew and moving to a different place and recreating that because you know how powerful it can be.
Yeah,
And I think we always need to remember that everyone wants to feel part of something.
absolutely.
And if you're like someone that goes to the gym and you love the gym, like really connect with your community and find ways to collaborate
Yeah.
at your gym. A small thing that I did as a BDM is probably similar to you as well, Tarym, is I went around to the business owners that were literally in the same street as me.
Yeah.
Like I worked in Glen Waverley here in Victoria. There was a massive strips of like restaurants, cafes,
Yeah.
and by doing that, I had giveaways that I would run throughout the year. And I wasn't paying for these vouchers. These restaurants or cafe owners would actually give
Mm.
me these vouchers to give back to our community. I did a pay it forward once out of my own initiative, and my directors are like, okay, for every one, we're going to double it. So
Yeah.
I ended up being able to give more back, and just those little things that then resulted to me being known. I had a whole article that was written up
Yeah.
about me in our local community page. So I had more eyes on me. And I think like it's those things that made me feel good because I knew that I was also giving back. It's not just about
Absolutely.
the listing numbers, it's about what we can do in our position and the people that we help to really elevate that and that essence and bring those people together. Like, I think we should
100%.
be doing it more often.
Yeah. And one thing that we've been doing, and we've done it for 2 years now, and we've just made it every year we're doing it, is we go out to the local schools, so school leavers in year 12, and we talk to them about renting 101, and we give them a brochure on like top tips for renting. And we found that that's been something that's been really well received in our community.
Mm.
Again, it's not something that's just going to translate into listing numbers, but it's something that we can use our platform
Yeah.
to help the younger generations within our community that just need that extra level of, nobody teaches you how to rent a property in school, nobody
Um,
teaches you how to do taxes. So,
yep.
this is our small little piece that we can use to give back. And it's only, a 10-15 minute little session on, what's a bond? How can you get a bond loan if you can't save the money? All those little tips and tricks to help them out in the marketplace because, it's not long before some of them are needing to rent. And also, if you go to an open home as a group of uni students, just don't say this is where we're going to put the keg, otherwise you will not be approved.
All right, let's tie it all together. So any BDMs, whether experienced or they're new, because I even know some experienced BDMs aren't really getting involved in their community or
Yeah.
volunteering, where would you start? Like if you want to be more visible and be more of that attraction agent in your community, where would you start?
Yeah. So I would start with what you love. Do you have kids in sports? Get in with the sports team. Do you have a kid in school? Could you be doing something with the PNC? Do you absolutely, like you said, love going to the gym? What events could you help put on in collaboration with the gym?
Mm,
I know there's a really successful real estate agent in the Northern Beaches who puts together a women's wellness retreat and little wellness mornings on for her clients. Um, and that can be really something that anybody can adopt. Movie nights for
mm,
clients. And if you want to keep it professional, do an investor night. Put
mm,
something on that, if you don't really love doing anything within your community and you just prefer to keep it professional rather than your personal, and there are people that are happy to do that, do an investor night and invite your local community, get your local tax agent there, get BMT tax depreciation and quantity surveyors, get EBM or Terry Shear landlord's insurance, and put on a really, really good investor evening if that's your niche, and do that twice a year. So yeah, just get out and get seen. I mean, sitting behind a desk and making phone calls, but to be honest, I could talk to a tree, but I don't like calling the tree. So if we can get out there and do a bit more in our community, if you love just talking to people and not sitting at chained to your desk making phone calls, that's what I would recommend.
yeah, I love it. Really great touch point. So, Trim, mother of two, 14 years in the industry, BDM for 10 years, love connecting, you love getting involved in your community, authentic person. And I definitely know from just having only a few interactions that, what you see is what you get with you. And I love that and that realness and rawness for you. Highlights for today for the listeners is, get yourself out there. Be that voice in your community, volunteer, do something good for others because what you put out comes back. And I think that's a
Absolutely.
really good reminder. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much
Thank
for joining
you.
me.
Like
And,
I got you.
shout out to the lifestyle group. I mean, you guys are growing. I know that you've got a great leader and great support too, which absolutely love Mr. Gray.
Yes.
And 8 BDMs now, and you guys are continuing to grow. So I think that's just amazing, and I'm just so really happy for you to see that you've landed your feet here and growing and having great months of growth.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and really, really appreciate everything you and the Rise Factor are doing. So thank you.
Much love, team, and as always, keep rising.